dog, you want to bring your kids, you want to bring like, you can bring the family, it doesn't have to be just like you by yourself. So just know that. So yeah, just that. I just want to let you guys know about that. Just kind of keep look out for that when I post it on the chat. Besides that, guys, I'll give the floor to Euri. If you have any questions, he's just gonna go over the process of selecting comps and stuff like that. And then if you just have any like general questions about appraisals in general, we could do that in the second half. And yeah, so take it away, brother.
All right. So once again, good morning. My name is Euri Lorenzo. I've been an appraiser since 2005. I'm also a realtor since 2008. So first, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys an example of how I look for comps when I go do an appraisal or to value a property for listing purposes or for a buyer of mine. I'm going to give you guys an example first in Cutler Bay. So I just pulled up any property in Cutler Bay. This is the subject property. I think this one's listed. So the first thing that I do is that I don't use RealList, I don't use RealQuest, because the main reason why I don't use those systems is because you can't tell the condition of it doesn't know the condition of the comps for the subject. So it's just giving you an average of the area. So if my property is completely remodeled, it's probably worth a lot more. If it's in bad condition, it's worth a lot less. So I'll go into the MLS. The first search that I do is by the folio number, which is right here. I'll break it down and I'll look first inside the subdivision. Okay. So this one, the folio number is 36 60 08 006 0210. I go into the MLS. I might lose a couple of you here, but I'll try to do it slowly. So the first set of numbers is the municipality, 36. I put it in, right? Then the township and range is the second set of numbers, which you see right here, 60. Okay. So 60 goes in the township and range. Then the next set of number is 08. These set of numbers, if it has a 0 in front of it, you don't put the 0, only for these. So that one's going to be 8. So that's the section 8 in Cutler Bay. And then if you want to look inside the subdivision, it's 006. So for this one, you would jump over to subdivision number and you put 006. Okay. This is going to give you, so it's this municipal code, township range, section, and then subdivision number. Then what I'll do is I'll go to active with contract, closed sales, pending, and I'm going to go back 1 year because the values are not going up any longer. So I can go up to a year now, and just to give me an idea of what's going on in the market. I'm not going to put living area or anything yet. I just want to see everything in there. And I don't have too much data. I only have 9 matches. So it's not going to give me a good number there, but I'm just going to take a look. Yeah.
Can I pause you there? So what's the idea of doing the municipal code, the township range? Is it to find properties obviously in that same
within the immediate subdivision? Sometimes that's great because the subdivision is going to give you your best, most comparable comps in the area. This one's not going to be a good example because Cutler Bay. So I'm going to show you the other search that I do. This is the first search, even though it's not going to be the best one for this example, but I'm still showing you the first search that I do. I go into a subdivision and it only gave me 9 actives, pending, closed sales. So I go to results, and then here I'll look at that. I only have 2 actives. Okay. In the last year, there's been like 5 or 6 sales ranging from 447 to 575. And you have 1 pending for 449. Do you see how they all say Cutler Ridge, section 3? They're all the same subdivision, immediate. And then if you go to the map, it's going to show you where they're all located. You zoom out. So the immediate subdivision, you know it's going to be this area right here. Okay. But I'm an appraiser and I know, and you guys, if you're sitting in the area, you'll know that for Cutler Bay in this area, you can do a search and do it. This will be my second search. I'll take out the folio number and I'll do this. Because I know my market area and I know that this is going to be where other buyers are going to be looking at competing properties.
Because you know it, but if you didn't know it, how would you kind of determine that?
By major boundaries.
Right.
By major boundaries, and you got to study the market a little bit. For example, if you're in South Miami Heights, this one right here, you got to drive the area and you kind of see where houses change if you don't know the area. And also, if I'm not sure of something, I'll circle this area, I'll look at the prices. And then if this area right here, I'm not too sure, I'll circle this area and look at the average of prices. And that goes to setting for a little bit higher, you'll know that's a little bit superior area, you know? But this is the second search that I do. And then I'm gonna go ahead and delete the folio from there. If you guys want to, you can skip the first search and just do this one if you want, but I like doing both. And then if my property, it's a 4-3 and it's got 1675 square feet, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put 4 bedrooms. I'm gonna go up. If it's 1600, I'll probably go from 1200 to 2000. So I'll get some smaller ones and some bigger ones. So I'm gonna go from 1200 or maybe 13 to 2100. And there now you have 44, right? These are all your actives, so that's your competition, your pendings, and then your closed sales. You got a range from 690 all the way down to 387. So if you look at these, this is a townhouse. So I'm gonna go back to my search. I'm gonna, wait a second. And I'm gonna put single family. And then I start making it tighter and tighter. If my house is completely remodeled, so for example, this one right here, 690, is the only one that's sold for that price, okay? It says it's got a pool and it's got a water, it's on the water. So it might have a lake, and that may be the reason why. So I'll go into all the sales and I'll start either accrediting them or discrediting them, saying which ones are gonna be good and which ones are not gonna be good compared to mine's. And then this is what I'll do. I'll just go in there and look at all the photos. If mine is remodeled, I'll look at all the ones that are remodeled. I'll start choosing them, you know. Let's say, for example, I mean, I don't know if the internet's gonna, it's not showing me the photos, but I'll go in through each one of them and look at all the photos and choose the ones that are most similar to mine's. Once you choose the most similar ones, you'll have a range. For example, between 520 to 560, for example, the range. And then from there, you can determine your value. Now, and the 3 bedroom are selling for 500, then the market is telling you that they're paying $25,000 per extra. Most of the time, there's not that much of a difference, and when there is, it gets factored in that most of the time the 4 bedrooms are a little bit bigger. So once we adjust for living area, it kind of factors in the difference between the 3 bedroom and the 4 bedroom. You know,
In that case, is that on over improvement, it would be considered the fact that that's the only house, like Joey was saying, the only house with 4 bedrooms instead of 3, probably consider an over improvement at the time of pricing, or?
it's not that much. I mean, there's probably not that much of a difference between a 3 bedroom and a 4 bedroom. More over improvement would be double the size as typical homes in the area, you know, stuff like that. So that's what it would be. Another thing I want to tell you guys is I've seen real that they'll do price per square footage, and do not do that. You can only do that when you're comparing a condo on the same line, same view, same condition. That's apples to apples. When you have houses, a house that's 4,000 square feet, the price per foot is going to be less than a house that's 2,000 square feet. That's called the law of diminishing returns. So what do realtors do? They get the smaller houses, they get the price per foot from the smaller houses and try to compare it to the bigger ones, you know, and you're going to be way off, trust me. So I don't recommend doing it that way. The best,
Price per square foot.
yeah. To compare properties, do not do a price per square foot. You're going to be wrong most of the time.
I mean, it's obvious. If you try doing it,
You're going to be way off unless you're in a cookie cutter neighborhood. They're all same lot size, same condition, and same living area, you know?
Give me 1 second, I'm going to go back in.
Neighborhood, there's always 200 or 300 square foot difference on lots or on the living area itself.
Yeah, yes, that's why you shouldn't do it.
More applicable for up north, Tennessee and all of that stuff.
I don't do that area, so I don't know.
I was talking to my wife about that the other day. Like, it was like, it's like sketchy, TV shows that you watch and you feel express the same, the whole thing, like.
Yeah,
It was the
that's,
same houses, like, I don't like, yo. That's kind of.
you need me to connect?
Yeah, so go back on, try going again, you have to go back to Zoom on element.com, yeah. You have to like just try to go on all the time.
Do you do commercial appraisal too?
No, I don't, only residential.
And then same thing, just share your screen.
Do you want a side job?
Share.
Huh?
Do you want a side job and just like we pay you to?
I mean, I do appraisals. I do appraisals for realtors. Sometimes they call me, they have like a buyer that's, you know, says his property is worth X amount.
We tried that way, you guys apparently were super busy and we could never get a hold of anybody to do one.
Yeah, no, right now we're not as busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're super busy. I mean, it was crazy. Is it working?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I can do another example. You guys give me an address, just, I'm not gonna give you a number, but I can just show you what I would do if you give me an address to look up.
But we don't want a number.
No, I'm not allowed to because that's considered an appraisal. and I'm supposed to have a work file for that.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anybody have any property, anything?
Yeah.
something that's,
I got one.
I mean, I'm not gonna give you a number, but I'll just do a search and show you what I would do,
So
you know?
So to kind of summarize what you said, you look at the bedrooms and bath.
Well,
You do the square footage.
First, I go into the neighborhood and I look at everything. I wanna
Right.
see the biggest house, the smallest house. And then from there, I'll start bracketing it like by, you know, bedroom count, by living area, and making it tighter to search. And then eliminating the properties.
1808
1808,
Northwest, 52nd Avenue. Lauderhill.
oh, wait,
Yeah.
that's in Broward.
Yeah, it's in Broward,
Let me see how I can,
and it's not a single family, it's a triplex.
no, that's more complicated, because you gotta do the income approach and everything, yeah, that. And a triplex, you have limited sales, hold on, is it,
It's the,
okay,
I
give
just
me a
want to
second.
understand why the property came.
Video.
to a garage.
Where is it?
Right there.
Oh, no, man, like, with that one, we got an appraisal done, and, the property came in as far as value, 75,000 below contract price.
Got it.
However, the income approach came in, like, I think it was like 80-something thousand above
Above,
contract.
yeah, but most of the time, the lenders wanna go off of the sales comparison approach. even though the income approach is more applicable. What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to move this so you can open up a tab.
I think his is in Broward, so it's fine there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to try to. Hold on, sorry. Yeah, I'm not, how do you?
I hit it last time. Hi, it's this one. There. Okay, what's the address?
7325 North Augusta Drive.
Quick question, like, because your previous search, you made your map boundaries kind of like a arbitrary, like a general area. Was that a mile radius or?
No,
what's up with that? Like,
I don't do a mile radius. I just do whatever the market area is. Sometimes it can be less than a mile, sometimes it can be over a mile. It depends on the neighborhood. And I don't care if it's a mile or over, I'll explain if I have to, you know. Obviously, I try to get comps within the mile, but if the neighborhood is bigger, I'll expand, you know, it doesn't matter.
But what he said is major boundaries. So on that, I think US one, you weren't going on the other side of US one or something like that. You were.
For, let me see, for example, right here, Coral, for example, in Coral Gables, after 8th Street, I'm not gonna look for comps for Coral Gables. It's a completely different market, but you have to know your areas, you know, every neighborhood is different. Here in Westchester, I'm not gonna jump over the Palmetto to get comps on this side, you know? Let's see. Yeah, Kendall Lakes, I'm gonna try to stay around this golf course and maybe this area here, so it'll be this right here, your market, you know? Bent Tree, you're gonna stay right there between Bird and Miller, you know? That's your market area, so
I guess that's part of the subjective part of an appraisal. I mean, because what you may think is just a general area, another appraiser may not.
most of the times the appraisers should have that more or less right. Obviously, they're gonna try to get the ones closest to the subject, but that's why I first do a subdivision search, which gives me comps inside my subdivision. Those I'm gonna give most weight to. Those are my best comps, are inside the same subdivision. And then the market area, which is the boundaries, you know?
Is that like a rule of thumb for?
That's how we mostly do it, you know, most appraisers. Okay, so this property, it's 5.2, 2 stories, 3,400 square feet, 12,000 square foot lot.
That's long though. It's a 5.3 and it's only 1 story actually.
Yeah, wow.
Well, that's a good question. So how do you deal with that when this information is wrong from the actual information?
You go off of what you see,
What
what's
you
there,
see, what's
yeah.
there.
Yeah, and then if there's a difference in bathroom count, I'll just put a comment, you know, there's a difference in bathroom count.
Cause I have a lot of times, like I just dealt recently with a 3-1,
Uh-huh,
but it was a 3-2. They added a bathroom without, I don't think it was legally done,
without,
but you do it based on what you see there.
well, if it's done in a workmanlike manner and it looks like
Good.
equal quality to the rest of the house, then, but if it looks like you know, his uncle did it and, you know, I'm not gonna,
Let me ask you something.
yeah.
So you were telling me about what you just said, that if I have no permits in a house that I'm trying to flip.
Mhm.
And I put 2 new bathrooms.
Mhm.
And they both looks the same.
Mhm.
And I don't have permit for any of those new 2 bathrooms.
Where are you putting them? What part of the house? What's it?
No,
What
like,
part?
let's say I'm trying to put like a bathroom with a room, bathroom with a room, bathroom with a room, and I have a decent amount of space.
Mhm.
So you're telling me that if they look the same and a pricer would actually take it in consideration?
Yeah,
Yeah, but it could become a lending problem.
yeah, it can become a problem with the city or with the, you know?
Yeah, what we're dealing with already, we're actually getting the
It,
permits
it,
and all
it
that.
depends. So this property, what I'm gonna do first is folio search. So it's gonna be 30, then 20, then 2, and then 021. So I'm gonna go over here, municipal code 30. Then 20. Section 2. And the subdivision is 021. I'm gonna put active, pending, closed sales. And then I'm gonna show you the map area so you can see where the comps are coming out. See, all the comps are coming out right here, so, you know. And I don't have too much data. I only have 4 comps in the area. And they're all active. There's been no closed sales in there.
Yeah.
Let me see. So now,
Yeah,
now I'm gonna do a map search really quick.
yeah, like that, you're gonna get some.
Yeah, I've done some appraisals there. I mean, not recently, but. All right, let me delete this.
And make sure you put it on a single family. There's a lot of comments.
Yeah, and townhomes. That one is the lot's pretty big, so I don't want to see the smaller lots. Right, lot square footage. Mine is 12,000. I'm gonna look from 9,000 to 16,000. And then this is what you have. Your high sales 1.38, and your low sale is 640. So it's a big variance. Your highest sale, I will look at it and just see why. If mine looks like this, then you can use it, but it's 5,600 square feet, and mine is 3,400.
Yeah.
So now that I saw everything in the market, right? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bracket. Mine is 34, so I'm gonna go from 2,800 to 34 to like 4,300. So now you see how it's tighter from 770 to 1.20. Okay, I looked at everything, right? So I looked at everything just to see all the sales.
Right.
And this one sold for 1.38, but look how big it is. So I already know that establishes my high, and should be below that, right? These are my lows, so I go into them and just look at them to see, the condition. Just skim through the pictures and see why they sold at that lower price. Go to the next one, 2,400 square feet. This one's updated and it's sold for 759.
But it's.
And this one's 692. So now I'm gonna go ahead and bracket by living area. So 2,800. So let's put 4,400.
And is that, so when I first became a realtor, I was taught 20% is you just kind of you go a little more than that sometimes, right?
It just depends. If I have a lot of data, I can make it tight. But if I don't, I gotta, expand just to find something to be able to compare it with, and then you look at everything. So you have 6 actives right now, and in the last year, there's only been 1, 2, 3, 4 sales. So those properties may take up to a year to sell, because you got 6 actives and only 4 have sold in 12 months, So you know that by looking at this, you have to price it correctly so that it can move. Now, the highest sales 1.025. So I'll go in there, look at the condition, see the upgrades and all that stuff, and then I'll go into the next one. Yeah, go ahead.
Now that you tightened it, the 1.3 was gone? Oh, yeah, because the square footage.
Yeah, it's way superior. It's not really comparable.
So is it safe to say on your appraisal report, those are the 4 comps that you would choose
I mean, these are the ones that I will
and make adjustments?
take a look at and see. Sometimes it depends on how the subject looks. If the subject is remodeled, right, and in really good condition, this is your best comp right here. If it's remodeled and in good condition, look how this one is inside, And if it's not, then you probably know that somewhere, look at these. And this one's not that bad. See original bathrooms and stuff like that, So it just depends on the condition. That's why I tell you guys don't go off of realist only, because it doesn't look, you have to take the extra step and look at stuff. And then also very important, especially in this market, is to not only look at your comps, but look at your actives. Because if you have 3, not only 1, but let's say 3 or 4 actives, and they're asking 925, 950, and they're similar to 1.025, then that tells you that values there have started to correct or decline. And you have to price yours, forget about this comp here, somewhere around there. And then also go into each of these actives and look at the days in the market. How long has it been listed for? And all those things. December, this one since December, but these are all competing against each other. And this one since October, started at 1.2 and now they're at 995. So it's not only looking at your closed sales, you have to look at your actives, how many actives is there, and all the competition.
I have somebody in the chat had a question, a little unrelated, but it's a good question. When you look at comps, do you pick loans sold over bought cash? If there's a cash closed sale, is a better match? I think what he's trying to ask is when you're selecting comps, why don't you consider cash deals? Or do you consider that this was bought conventional or FHA, like the terms of the sale?
It depends on the market that we're in. For example, in the market that just passed now, a cash sale was pretty much the same as a finance deal because people just wanted to grab something. They would buy it cash and then later on they'll refinance, so back then it didn't make a difference. Now as the market changes and there's more inventory available, maybe cash deals will get discounted. And if we see that there's a difference for being a cash sale, then either we got to do an adjustment for that or try not using it, but if we have to use it and the market tells you, like everything, if the market tells you that the cash one sold lower, then maybe not put as much weight on that comp, because every report has at least 3 comps. Just because it has 3 comps doesn't mean the appraiser is going to put weight on all 3. He's going to put most weight on the most similar one if he does the correct job. So he can have 3 comps and only put weight on comp number 1, which is the only good one in the report.
So I actually have the opposite where we have comps and then I see a cash sale that sold higher. And then it's not included in the appraisal report. And then I try to dispute, hey, is it possible that we can dispute that because they didn't use this cash sale?
How much higher did it sell?
Maybe 30,000, 40,000 higher.
Because sometimes if most of the sales are selling between, like, let's say 750 to 800, and you have one sold for 975, that's an outlier sale. We're just going to discredit it. It's only one sale and sold for that price.
It's not an indicator of what the market is.
Yeah, that's only one sale. One sale does not determine the market value of a property.
Yeah.
So let's say we have two comparable properties, they're very similar, the only difference, let's just say for this example, is the square footage. So it's a 3.2, same, area, it's just, Model E, Model D, but Model E is 1,000 square foot bigger. So it's 2,200, and then the 2,500, right? 132 and then another 32 is 1,500. So we have everything that's the same except square footage. Do we grab private square feet at 1,000? Because it's too much. I see on reports, I see 15 grand or 10 grand, 20 grand. How do we decide that?
Well, first of all, a house 1,500 versus 2,500. Unless the appraiser really needs to use it, he shouldn't use it because it's a completely different house. It's way bigger,
So it's limited comparables.
If he needs to use it, he'll use it, but more likely he should go up like 300 or 400 square feet,
Okay.
And then what he does is that he'll look at the bigger homes, the average of those houses, how much they're selling for. Let's say a 2,000 square foot house. And then the average of the 1,500 square foot houses, right? Subtract the difference and divide it by the square footage to come up with the GLA adjustment. The square footage adjustment.
Okay.
You got what I'm saying?
So that would
I
be
see.
the,
And then, like I told him earlier, you weren't here, like, it's not the same number for every market, but more or less it's about $50 a foot, plus or minus. The GLA adjustment for that price range.
That's one of the things that, and one of the things that I personally have found like a little more difficult to pinpoint.
I'll tell you the truth, it's even difficult for appraisers to do that, some appraisers. So it's not that it's simple, but what you have to do is get the average of the bigger homes, the average of the smaller homes that are in similar condition, subtract the difference and then divide it, and you'll come up with how much your buyer's paying extra for those square feet,
Exactly. And if you're in a rush, you just
It's an average, yeah, you're not the appraiser, just to give you a rough idea, you guys are gonna you'll get very close to a number,
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Mhm. But the best thing to do for you guys would be compare it to a house that's bigger and compare it to a house that's smaller. That way you're in the range,
Maybe you take a meeting
Yeah, and you can take it, or if yours is like really good condition,
Different,
you
yeah.
give it the upper end. If it's not, the lower end, it just depends, you know.
Gotcha.
But more important, like I said earlier, it's your active listings, your competition that you have to look at. For
Let me ask you
pricing.
something, because you mentioned it earlier. For example, you're trying to do a CMA, right? What happened is that, like, all the ones that are trying to compare are listing if they're active. None of them have closed. So you don't know if what you're gonna compare it to, it's actually gonna drop 50K by the end of the month, you know?
Yeah, so sometimes, for example, like in this neighborhood, I know that well, let me see,
I love
over
numbers.
over a year ago, I know this is much more complicated for you guys, but over a year ago, the values were less. So maybe what I would do in that neighborhood is go over a year, try to find something that closed, right? Figure out how much the market has gone up and then apply that percentage of how much has gone up to those comps. That's one number. And then also try to go to the most similar competing market around there and find a recent sale, a couple recent sales that maybe a buyer looking in this neighborhood may look in that neighborhood also and compare it. And then if you want to make sure that that market is comparable to yours, the way that I confirm it is if you have no sales now in your market, go back in time, go back over 12 months and compare your market that had no sales now to older sales from the other market. If they're selling for a similar price, it's a similar neighborhood. So you can say that comps from there are going to sell for a similar price to yours, you know?
And if not, what you could do is like, just analyze the percentage in there and then add it to the one that you have right now currently.
The percentage, and then also just make sure that it doesn't go above the listings inside your neighborhood.
What about if it does? Because like, for example.
No, then it's wrong because your listings give you the upper end of the market. For sure, they're gonna sell for less than that. You know?
I was asking because like, you know, in the past 2 years, the property doesn't cost the same, you know, like right now it costs a little bit more.
So
All that is.
if you want to do like what I do in my appraisals to see how much values, if you want to show a client of yours how much like if you want to show them a map or show them how much values are going up or going down or whatever, this is one. There may be better ones on the MLS, but this is what I use. I'll circle the market area. Maybe I'll go a little bit more, right? And I'll go close sales and I'll go back a lot, 3,500 days back. I'll go to results and then I hit market stats, right? Chart. Single family, and then I'll click on historic price trends. And then there it's going to show you how much is going up. The reason why I show you this is if the market does start taking a dip, then it's good to show your clients this map so that they can see that the market is going down. You see this one, it was at 200 and now the median is at like at $600,000 or $700,000, you know? And if you want to do it with numbers, let me go back. So I go to stats, charts. Let me see if it does it now. I haven't done this one. Okay, this one I have to tweak it, but there's one that you can do it and it'll show you the average of every month, how much the numbers have gone up or down. And then that way it makes it easier to figure out how much the market has increased or decreased or whatever, you know?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then another thing to show you guys, you know, on the report, let me see if I can do this now. The appraisers use a 1004 MC on the report or no?
That's the.
Market conditions.
Okay.
So the way you figure that out, if you go into a market area, you go 0 to 365. The MLS actually does that for you guys. So let's say you're looking at 3 to 4 bedroom homes from, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 square feet. Results. You choose them all, you hit print. You see this one right here, 1004 MC.
Okay.
Print to PDF. This is the same thing as what the appraiser uses. So if you look at this right here, there's 13 comps sold in the last 3 months, right? There's 14 active listings. And then there's a housing supply of 3.23 months. If this number is below 3, it's a shortage. 3 to 12, it's imbalance. And if it's over 12, that means that that market has an oversupply of inventory. So that's one way for you to figure out easily. You know, this is just over 3 months, just over 3 months. And then here it looks at the average of, you know, these 3 months, the previous 3 months, and the previous 6 months, 520, 522, 550. Last year, I was seeing 400, 450, and like 525, because things were just going up like drastically, you know?
No, this is really good. I didn't know that. I've always seen that there. I don't think I've ever clicked on that. But-
Yeah, you choose all the properties and you just hit the. Let me go back.
Yeah, I know.
So I went into my market area, whatever it is, right? I put active contract, close sale pending, go back a year, right? I don't want to look at everything, so I want to look at things that are comparable to mine. I just made up some numbers there. 3 to 4 bedroom, 1,000 to 2,000 square feet, right? Hit results. And then you choose them all. You hit print, and then you select 1004 MC. And then you hit print PDF. I mean, you're not gonna give this to a client, but it helps you out with some things, you know? And then one thing that I do when I go see a client for real estate is that I use RPR. I'm not good at it because I don't use it too much, but I'll use RPR, but I'll select my comps myself. So I'll do these searches. I'll write down the ML numbers of the best comps available that I think are the most comparable. And then I'll put those into the RPR report, and then I'll do it that way.
Why do you like to do RPR?
Because it looks professional.
To look professional?
Yeah, it gives you a whole bunch of stats. It gives you everything. You guys should take some classes on RPR. It's really good. You can choose a shorter one or a longer one. Just get one that's not too long, you know, but it's really good.
That's the one that through,
Market stack report,
No, that's
that one's
different.
like 81.
Yeah,
Yeah, RPR gives you like a very, I mean, the times I've done is like 80 pages, 100 pages.
Yeah.
Like, so-
But they're shorter ones, like 20 something pages, 30 pages.
I think it's a mini, it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
Report, yeah.
So that's really good, but I don't choose the comps that it gives me because obviously it doesn't know the condition of the comps and the subject. So I'll go in here, do my searches, get the most comparable ones, and then I'll put those manually into RPR. That's pretty much it.
Let me ask you a question, because sometimes like I'll get on my home snap, to do like a quick CMA. Unfortunately, some areas, there's not enough. close
Don't do
sales.
none of that stuff. Just do this.
No, yeah, but when I'm in with a client doing a showing and they're asking me, hey, what other houses going in this area for? You know, like, I like to just do something quick and give them a range. But there's been areas where like HomeSnap will give me a prediction of what the properties are. You know, like off market, and they'll give you this random price because there's not enough sold in the area.
You're better off just going into the matrix from your tablet, from wherever, and just doing it that way, you know? You can look at your actives, your pending, closed sales, start with 180 days. If you don't have too much data, go back to 365 and start looking at everything.
Let me ask you a question. In a community like, I don't know, like in Miramar, you have Silver Lakes, you have Riviera House. When you have 2-story homes, single-story homes, some communities, there's a clear, the 2-story homes are more expensive. But there's some communities where it's just a mix. Do you, is what single-story and 2-story, is that a feature that you would only, if it's a 2-story home, the subject, you only use 2-story homes?
You try to,
You
you
try to.
always try to, but again,
But if you don't have enough.
it's
data,
never perfect. So sometimes you don't have enough comps, enough data. You may have to use a 1-story. But if the market's telling you the 1-story, like I told you before with other things, setting for less or setting for more, then you adjust for the differences. Some buyers don't want 2 stories because they don't have to, you know, walking up and down. It just depends on the area.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. You have a 2-story subject. The only sales in the last 6 months are single-story properties.
Mhm.
So in order for me to get 2-story comps, I gotta go back beyond 6 months.
Okay.
Do I go back beyond 6 months to a year or more?
Yeah, okay, so you're not doing this as an appraisal, so you don't have to worry about what we have to go through, you know?
Yeah,
So,
but I wanna price
as-
it, a good, so when you come,
So-
I'm in the ballpark.
So I answer as a realtor, not an appraiser. Okay, so when you want to know if there's a difference in the main thing you want to know is the difference in the pricing between a 1-story and a 2-story. You have no 1-stories now. So what do? You go back in time. You compare the 1 stories and 2 stories back in the same time frame. If you see a difference, then you can apply that percentage difference because the values are different to this time. You get what I'm saying?
That's what you would do.
So,
That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
so you would say the standard amount that you
No.
go up or down?
No, there
you
isn't.
can wait for, like you're saying, for a 2-story or 1-story, you would use that method of. going
Buyers
back.
buyers paid different amounts in different areas for different features. In some markets, doesn't
So your
matter.
strategy would be that, go back in that same year, whatever,
Yes.
4 years, see the
I don't care if you
difference,
go back 5 years,
just to give a percentage difference.
a
and
percentage
then-
difference, and then try to apply that percentage difference to now. You know? And then another thing you can also do is try to see who has sold a lot in that area. A realtor has sold a lot. You see a realtor that knows that he knows that market better than anyone. You call him and he'll know him better than me and anyone else and pick his brain. You know, hey, I'm trying to price the property in this market, you know, and just.
Another
see-
thing I try to also sometimes tell people is sometimes there's contributions that you might not know about too. So you see all the homes in the neighborhood are around 500, all of a sudden there's one at 520. Okay, but you know they weren't giving like a 20,000, 15,000 contribution.
Yeah, the
Do you
realtors,
put that into account, or you that doesn't?
it depends. If the price was listed at 500 and they sold it for 520 with a contribution, then the appraiser may adjust for the contribution.
Well, how would you know that?
The list price, whatever the list price, if it's 500,000 and they set it for 520 and they give back 20,000, then the price was affected due to the contribution. But if all the sales are setting, I'm just gonna give you an example, of 500,000 and one of them has a $10,000 contribution, then maybe the appraiser may not adjust. It depends, and every market is different and every area.
Somebody on the chat has a good question about adjustments based on features. What can you tell us about like adjusting for, so let's say you don't have enough data of a very similar property. How do you make adjustments for waterfronts, for pools? For, you know, a house that's fully upgraded, but a house that's not, what would you, what do you feel about that?
The appraiser always has to find at least one house that's fully upgraded. And then he's gonna compare that one to the ones that are not upgraded to figure out the difference for adjustment. Now, the upgrades are not gonna be the same. It's not gonna be like, oh, this one has one extra remodeled bathroom, so it's 20,000 more, 10,000 more, like. It's the overall condition. That's why he compares it to a couple different ones that are upgraded to kind of get an amount. And then see the ones that are not upgraded and get a percentage and then apply that for the adjustment.
Okay, what about, is there, like if you were to make an adjustment for a pool or for waterfront, how do you go about?
The same way, you get a couple, for example, if you're in Silver Lakes, those are easy because they're cookie cutter homes, kind of. So you'll find one 2-story that's 2,000 square feet without a pool. And you do this example with a couple 2 stories with no pools, get the average. Let's say it's 500,000. You get a couple with pools, let's say the average is 525 or 520. Your adjustment is $20,000. It's easier said than done because there's many factors in the market.
Like if PSN here, you know, if you're on the lake, like your value goes up tremendously.
Yeah, if you're on a lake, get a
And
couple
then some
houses on the lake.
neighborhoods, when you're on the lake, it seems like it doesn't make. much of a
No,
difference
it doesn't.
at all.
It doesn't. It depends on the lake. If it's one of those big lakes, it's a big difference. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
if it's one of those man-made lakes, sometimes buyers don't care. You know, it just depends.
That's one thing, guys, that keep in mind is being waterfront, sometimes in some neighborhoods it makes a big difference, some it don't. Having a pool in some neighborhoods, it doesn't seem like it makes a big difference, and some it does, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pools also, in some neighborhoods, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, you got homes without pool that suffer more than homes with pool.
People,
Sometimes
in some neighborhoods, that's like an extra cost and they don't want that extra maintenance. And they don't pay extra for that feature. So just because you have something doesn't mean every neighborhood it's gonna be extra. You have to do the research. And you're the professional, you're the one, you know, listing the property, do a little bit of research so you can see more or less what are buyers paying for that feature extra in that area.
How good is the RPR, like automated value?
Same thing as I tell you,
That's
the
just-
same thing as I think is Zillow and
Think that-
because it doesn't know the condition of the comps.
Yeah.
So it can be right sometimes and sometimes it's way off.
Broken clock is probably right.
Don't do none of that stuff. That's just the lazy way of doing it. Learn how to do it the way I showed you guys. Just do your map search, you know, look into the neighborhood and then look at everything in there and start bracketing in by living area. With 1,500, go 1,200 to 1,800 square feet, 3 to 4 bedrooms and all that.
Let me ask you something. You said for that type of stuff, for the pool and stuff like, which is gonna add some value, but you don't even know like if in that
Neighborhood.
neighborhood it's gonna actually add or not.
Mhm.
Is there any certain way or somebody that you could ask? Because you mentioned somebody like a real estate agent that isn't there, but like.
I'm listening
most
to a
likely
meeting
real
that we're
estate
having in the office, a
Just
Zoom
looking
meeting.
at the data, go into the neighborhood like I showed you, look at the entire neighborhood and look at closed sales.
Easy. You can't even get up and look.
6 months back.
And one thing we've done, and some of you guys I think have done this, I recall, we sometimes if we see a pending. And we see that the expected closing date is coming soon, we call the realtor and ask them, hey, what did that property appraise at? And sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they don't, I at least try to say, well, did it appraise higher than this, like if they don't wanna tell me the exact number. But sometimes they'll tell you the number, like, hey,
No.
we're about to close, this is what it appraised at.
And sometimes it's pending and it actually closed, so it'll be your best comp. And so sometimes you should do the research for the homework for the appraiser. Cause that might be your best comp, and then you can provide it to the appraiser and say, hey, look, this closed already, you can use it.
You should do that.
Oh, this is like 3 times. Since it was closed, it was a closed sale, but she still had it pending, the appraiser couldn't use it, so I was like calling her like, hey, can you close it? She's like, my office manager has to do it, so yeah, but definitely that's.
I had one deal once where I was actually the realtor and I needed to use a for sale by owner. Most appraisers won't use a for sale by owner. The reason why is because they cannot verify concessions, the condition, terms of the transaction. So I've actually gone to the for sale by owner's house, knocked on the door, got in his email and sent them, tell them, hey, I'm gonna send you an email confirming the sale, all terms of the transaction. And at least I have something to give to the appraiser. Maybe 50% of them will use it, but if you use it, it's gonna help you guys, you know? So pretty much it. And you-
I was asking you that question because I have somebody, a client, that is trying to add a pool, exactly what you guys were talking. And I was like wondering, like, how the hell, like, maybe your house is the only one that is gonna have a pool in a, I don't know. like
Where's it by?
Miami Gardens.
Yeah, in Miami Gardens, they don't pay much for extra for pools.
That's what I was saying, because I don't,
But if he's gonna do it, it's for himself to enjoy, you know?
I'd almost 183rd,
Yeah,
92nd.
but if he's doing it to add more value to the property, it's not gonna be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now
a
that-
pool never is gonna be worth it. It's gonna cost you 50,000. And the adjustment for pool, it could be from 10 to 20, you know, or a little more, a little less, depending, you know?
That's literally what I said, let me ask, and
Mhm.
that's it.
Yeah,
Appraisers appreciate comps, right?
some appraisers are hard-headed. Me, as an appraiser, I like when a realtor gives me comps for 2 reasons. I'm human and I may miss something that, you know. The second reason is I know what I'm going up against if he wants to submit a rebuttal against my appraisal, you know? So that way I can address the reason why I didn't use the comps that he provided, you know? One thing that it's a 50 give you the comps. Many times, sorry, but you guys give me comps that make no sense at all. And you guys are hoping that we use it. We do this every single day, so we know what are good comps and what are not good comps. Me as a realtor, if there's no good comps, I'm not gonna give him anything. Let him pray and see if he does his magic. But instead of me giving him back comps, I'm not gonna give him comps.
I also like to give you guys like a list of upgrades.
Yes, that's very good for you to do.
Do the impact windows, new.
All the upgrades, everything, give it to them. Yeah, the kitchen, the flooring, plumbing, electricity, electric, everything, give them a list of that, you know? And just give them the list of comps, but give them good comps. Don't give them, you know, no good comps, don't give them nothing.
Indeed.
I set a record for 2-bedroom sales in the area, right? And I brought up the valuation probably from 375 to 520, just because I showed up with comps, and he told me this is possible or not. 1,000 appraisals a year for the past 30 years. That's what he did.
Well, I was doing about 60 to 80 a month when the market was busy, but that's not normal. I mean, I wasn't sleeping.
Yeah, but he was really thanked me, and I saved my setter because it was, you know, I was not gonna go through it. We actually set a record for that, and he appreciated and loved and used. He's like, I'm gonna use every single comp you have here. that guy. So I asked you because just to get a different opinion from an appraiser, but in my opinion and my experience, I've always helped my listings.
I always provide comps unless I can't.
So, really quick, a quick question. Roofs, right? Cause I've heard like two completely different, things about it. Yeah, so
The story.
do you guys, I know you guys don't look like at you guys don't really look at the year, like how old it is or whatnot, it's more the condition.
Lease.
Okay, so sometimes I'll go do an appraisal and the realtor tells me, oh, this property has a brand new roof. It's gonna be worth X amount more. For me to adjust for that, the market has to prove to me that houses with brand new roofs, buyers are paying this amount of money for it. Every house is supposed to have a working roof, not leaking and none of that stuff. It may be an extra feature, an extra selling feature that buyers may appreciate, but you want also the appraiser, when he gives the value, he has his reconciliation. If his comps are from 500 to 460, he may take into account the new roof and maybe give it a little bit higher than, whatever the price, because of the roof, but
Good question, because I'm thinking, I had a listing and seller had one of the aluminum and metal roof. Nobody in the neighborhood had it.
so it's not typical for the area. Are buyers paying extra for that roof?
But it's something that we're starting to see more and more.
Yeah. Are you
Huh?
I added $30,000 to my house with my roof.
If a buyer, you can ask whatever you
Oh,
want.
no, I asked.
Is the buyer gonna pay extra for it?
But
If there's two same exact homes in one neighborhood, and one has a metal roof and one doesn't, and they sold for the same price, it's not worth extra. Now if buyers say, hey, I'm gonna pay 10,000 more for that house because it has the metal roof, then you can prove it's worth
What
more.
would be the difference on that extra beneficial feature versus an upgrade inside the house that is also a added beneficial feature?
The ones that I see that help a lot are mainly your kitchens, your bathrooms, flooring, all those type of upgrades. The roof, I haven't seen much of a difference. And if I can't, the market, if I can't see a difference, I have to approve it. I can't just come up with a
To
number.
get any type of
Well, the house may sell,
value?
the house may sell faster, the house may sell for a little bit more.
Well, I mean, yes, absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
So
but I mean, does it
marketing.
Add any value in an appraisal report whatsoever?
Maybe the reconciliation, like I said, if the comps are adjusting between 460 to 500, the appraiser will take that into consideration and give it, instead of 480, 490, 485, 500, the upper end of the range, But he's not gonna adjust in the report for it unless he can prove it by seeing other houses that have the roof versus not having the roof. If that's what you wanna know.
Yeah, I just wanna know if it adds any other value, because like, hey, you were.
It does have some type of value, it
you
does.
went
It's gonna
into a
sell
pool.
faster probably,
Well, the reason I asked is because how you went into a pool, that how some areas it might give value, might not give value, or might help a little bit.
A pool is
Obviously
always
not.
gonna give much more value than the roof.
Okay.
And it's our job, I guess, the market.
Well, I think I feel like it should give it a good significant value, because a metal roof, I mean, think about it, you're putting this roof in, you don't have to do the roof for another 50 years.
But that's my question.
Exactly, so that, you would think that I would wait.
Hey, before I forget, another thing, solar panels.
Oh,
Okay, you're paying $50,000, $80,000 for solar panels. And if you're comparing properties that have solar panels and no solar panels in some neighborhoods, there's not that much of a difference. Sometimes you may adjust 5,000, 10,000, it depends. But it all depends on how much the buyer's willing to pay, because they're saving that type of money,
I was about to ask you, so how, that phrase you have used it in the past minute, like 5 times, like you don't know if the buyers are gonna pay for it. So let me ask you, let's say you have gold and you don't know how much it costs, but somebody's not able to actually pay for that gold, like in this case, you're having a roof of metal and you have.
You're saying gold inside the house?
No.
Okay.
It's
It's an over improvement.
But I'm just saying, like, go and not everybody's giving the same price, not everybody's appreciating it. That's the hypothetical example. Now, real life, you're actually having an aluminum roof, and then you're adding the solar panels and all that. And of course, in the area, they're not appreciating it. They're not, paying.
Well,
for
you
it.
said the answer. In the area, they're not appreciating it. So what does that tell
I know
you?
that.
It's not worth anything. You said the answer right there.
And let me ask you,
What the area pays for the features.
that's my question, because like, what about like, right now it's not appreciated, but then another house
Nope.
start getting it.
Yeah, and I guess why we're talking about like certain things like this, and I mean, from my point of view, I'm assuming some of us are doing the realtors, is because, you know, you have these sellers that are doing these major upgrades, which are beneficial. I mean, I find a house at a decent price and it has this feature that I don't have to pay for anymore, you know, it's great, I want it, but then comes the appraisal and it shocks that value because, you know, the comps in the area are not comparable because they're not gonna get they don't have the same features like the roof or the pool or whatever. Now, as a realtor, talking to your client is like, man, you're gonna have to accept whatever the appraisal is. Because the buyer doesn't.
You as a realtor,
Like, for example, like the buyers coming in, they're just gonna go based like, hey, that's what the appraisal said,
if I
that's what I'm paying.
have that listing and I have a house with a metal roof, I'm gonna get on the MLS and I'm gonna go to extra features, to remarks. And I'm gonna put, where's remarks in here? I had it somewhere here. And I'm gonna put in here metal. And I'm gonna look for all the houses that have metal roofs. And then I'm gonna look at, let's say that I find 3 of them, and let's say they're 1,500 square feet. I'm gonna look at other houses, similar size, and compare them and see if there's a difference. If there's a difference and I can prove it, I'm gonna put that and I'm gonna show it to the appraiser. Or I won't show him and then I'll submit it in the rebuttal and I'll rebut his appraisal because I have data. That's another thing I want to talk briefly about to you guys, is that you can submit rebuttals to the appraisals if they come out bad, but you really have to know what you're doing for them to get to change the value. I've changed values on my reports a couple times. I'm not perfect and I've changed them, I'll admit it. But most of the times I won't, you know? And I've gotten appraisers to change their value on their appraisal when I rebut them as a realtor. But you have to know what you're doing. So one thing that I recommend, every time you look at an appraisal, look through it, read it, understand it, so that you can, you know what's going on, you know?
Regarding the appraisal, because it's like if you're going, don't just say, hey, use this, you should have used this comp, give a detail.
Factual data, nothing against him. It's nothing against the appraiser, just show factual data. And this is why I think my house is worth more. Here are a couple comps that are good comps. Because if you give him crappy comps, he's just gonna reply back, I didn't use this comp because of this, and this. Bye. That's it.
I have, hold on, let me get to some chat questions, just really straightforward questions. What's the max distance you would ever go from the subject?
As far as I have to go.
As far as you have to
There's
go?
no set distance. The only thing is that underwriters, they want to see within a mile. But if you're in the Redlands, you have to go 5, 6, 7 miles. You just have to explain it. It depends on your market. You know, here it's not typical because most of it's like subdivisions that are close to each other. So you'll go, if you have to go further, 1.5 miles, 2 miles. Sometimes I've gone 3 miles, but very rare, you know?
Another question, if a house has an appraisal done a month ago and then the listing's removed, and then it comes back on the market, can the appraisal come higher?
Yeah, every appraisal is different. They should be very close to each other, but yeah, for example,
we've had deals where we have multiple appraisals for whatever financing it was necessary. Yeah,
they're not going to be the same. But for example, I had a listing that was my house that I sold in Homestead under contract for $550, and the appraiser came in at $500,000. Totally killed me. I made the buyer come in with $25,000 above, and they paid it. But there was other comps that sold right after mine's for $550, which proves to me that my house should have appraised at $550. I just had a bad appraiser.
Okay.
But the market I knew it started to dip, so I just took the deal and sold it.
I got 2 quick questions. Do you ever, like, if you ever see a deal where it was like, damn, they got a really good deal. Like, let's say they're buying the house at 500, and you're like, man, that house is probably worth 575, 600. Do you bring that appraisal at 575, 600?
Whatever the market value is.
Yeah,
right.
Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if you guys like kind of hold back, let me just.
Some appraisers, for example, when the market was going up, we tried our best to come up as high as possible. I try to find everything. I looked at those charts that I showed you guys to do the time adjustments and all that stuff. But we need data to support it. So when the market started going up, we couldn't do the adjustments until it caught up with the market. A couple months have gone in, we can go back and show that it went up. Right now, we're going to start seeing, and I've seen it with other appraisals and stuff like that, is that your appraisals are gonna be a little bit higher than your sales price. Because we're going into a correction.
I've been seeing pretty good, I mean, they've been pretty solid lately.
Yeah, but
That's been
right now we're
pretty
not having the
good.
problem that we're not reaching value anymore. That's not happening, and sometimes it's selling for 400 and the appraisal coming in at 410 or 420,
Right.
which is not normal a year ago, you know,
Yeah.
because the market is shifting.
Besides the structural obsolescence, so you need to get to a room, you need to book a room, right? That, I understand what you're.
Yeah, functional.
What about an unpermitted garage? Do you guys?
I mean, unpermitted or converted?
So a converted garage into a office, efficiency in a.
All right, so it depends if how pretty the appraiser makes it seem, you know? Some appraisers may make a big deal about it, but what I'll do is that I won't give it living area. I'll put it as a converted garage, and then I'll tell the lender, I'll cost a cure of how much it'll cost to put it back into a garage. You know, another example, it has an efficiency. I did one in Hialeah that had 4. It was broken into 4. It was a 4-plex, single family home into a 4-plex. So what I did it subject to them making doorways into each part of the house and removing the kitchen. It can have a wet bar, it just cannot have a stove. So if it has a stove, remove it before I get there. Yeah, I'm making it
Remove it before you get there.
before the appraiser gets there.
Because you're gonna mention it
Because if it has a stove, it's a full kitchen.
and you have to say that on the report.
Yeah, it cannot have two kitchens, a house. But if it only has a sink, the appraiser can say it's a wet bar. And it's fine. Unless he doesn't make it pretty and he makes a big deal about it. But most of the times, if it's just a sink, it's a
So
wet
that's gonna
bar.
be an appraisal issue and then we're gonna have to.
Yeah. A house can't have 2 kitchens, you know? You remove the stove and
You care about like if stuff is, you care about permit, you don't do permit, you don't check it.
no, I'll just mention it, you know, maybe it has an addition. I just did one yesterday that the covered patio was enclosed. But when you go inside, you still see the exterior wall from the inside with the windows. So I didn't put it as living area, even though the floor was raised and it had AC, I just put it as an enclosed patio. You know, and I didn't give it value for living area.
When you said to remove the stove, did you actually feel like any like anything like that?
To avoid any problems, I will remove any burners. I would just remove them. And if you have burners,
You cannot let
put
it
some
look
boxes, on top, or I don't know.
Consider. Property and you see people inside, right? Do you, and let's say it says that it's owner occupied. Ask those people if they're the owners.
I don't ask always, but I make a determination and I try to verify because I'm the eyes of the bank and I'm supposed to tell them if it's. Sometimes they try to get away with it. And it's investment property. And no, but obviously that's the reason why, because if it's investment property, the rates are gonna be different, down payment and all that stuff. So they try to lie, you know? I'll tell them if I know it's something, I'll put it on there, you know?
Gotcha. Is there any way that could happen when you said like, put some boxes on it or something like that, that you could actually talk to the appraiser?
No, don't tell him that. If he sees it, I'm just saying, you know, I didn't tell you to do that. Don't tell him, hey, you move boxes. I'm talking to you as a realtor.
Say from this perspective, I'm sorry, I didn't explain myself. Yes, but I'm just saying from the perspective, like, oh no, I'm removing this, you know, like, hey, this is not gonna be here, like, I'm just taking it right now in front of you, you know, removing.
I'm not gonna sit there and wait until you remove something. Before I get there, before I see it, I cannot see it, you know?
Property, 3 stoves,
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
next to a tree and put a big box to cover it.
It's considered one,
What?
two,
Okay,
one is now purchased it that way.
okay. They always do. They always say that, but go ahead.
It shows as a two.
That's typical.
Right, so it is converted as an efficiency. It does have the whole kitchen, I already know what the stove part is, so that's what we're gonna do. How do we approach that whole entire thing when it comes to the appraisal?
So where is that part? Is it the carport or the garage was converted and that's how they got the extra living area? Where is it?
carport.
Yeah, it's like, it's on the side of the.
And then is it equal to the rest of the house, or it has a step down going down?
Which
Right.
looks like bedroom, and then there was another addition that was added to the patio, which is like the step down, the front of the house.
You'd have to look at it. Does it look equal to the rest of the house, or it doesn't?
Part of it, part of the.
Yeah, legally.
It's an iffy. Some appraisers may include it, some may not, but it has to be equal quality to the rest of the house. The step down, I'm not too worried about,
Plans and everything from the addition.
but I'm not worried about 2-1 because it's typical for houses back in the days from the 50s, there were
That's
2-1s, and most of them now are 3-2s, you know? Maybe the appraiser will just comment, it was a 2-1 and now it's a 3-2. Now, if you're telling me it has an addition and the walls are all uneven and all that stuff, the appraiser's just not gonna include that. And provide a cost security to knock it down and tear it down.
Question, does that go also to when you were talking about, hey, like, this is, an efficiency that was created, just take out the stove and it's a wet bar. But obviously, when you're making an efficiency, the sellers, they also make a bathroom. So how do you do that? Do you do the same thing that you just said right now?
It's a 3-2. It's a 3-2. I report what I see, unless the bathroom wasn't done in a workmanlike manner. And then also sometimes they'll steal the doorway, the interior access. The house has to have interior access throughout the whole house. So we'll put a cost secure $1,000 to put an interior door.
So you have to break my kitchen to have access to the main house.
So if it's there, yeah.
Somebody asked on the chat, why is the main house considered one price per square foot and a guest house less per square foot?
Because buyers, that's an extra feature that buyers are not gonna pay the same for the house, which is where they're gonna live, as opposed to a guest quarters, which is an extra, you know, they rent it, not supposed to, but an extra feature that the yacht stays there, a studio. So it's like I told you with everything else, depends how much buyers are paying in the area. Typically, it's less than what they pay for the house.
Maybe the buyers are not that.
Hmm?
Maybe the buyers are not that social.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, it's been a good session. Anybody
When-
has any other
when you-
questions?
Really quick, so when you say it depends on what the buyer is willing to pay for it,
That's cool.
I hear you, Jennifer. Okay.
when he brings up, it depends on what the buyers are willing to pay for it in the area, right? A buyer put in an offer at whatever they agree on, let's say we're asking 550. And if the appraisal comes in at 530, the buyer is trying to pay 550 for it. And if the appraisal doesn't give value to the pool or to the new roof or whatever, but the buyer thinks, yeah, the pool is worth it, I want to pay more, they essentially have to come out of pocket.
Okay, he's gonna respond, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so you're talking about the buyer with the contract that's trying to buy that house. But we have to show proof in the market of things that have actually closed. And not only one sale, we have to analyze a couple sales to determine how much extra those features are worth. So I understand that you're saying, oh, my buyer's willing to pay this much extra for this feature. But us as the appraiser, I can't tell the bank, hey, look, this guy's willing to pay 30,000 for this pool. I'm gonna give him that value that he's willing to pay. I have to show data of past sales of what other buyers have paid in the past. Now, if your buyer closes at, let's say at 530, then maybe the data may get a little bit, you know, it'll get updated, but that's only one sale. There has to be a couple other ones that the buyers also are paying that much extra for that feature.
Yeah, and Jennifer, so one of the principles of what market value is, it's what many buyers would be willing to pay for a property, not just one specific buyer. So it has to be what generally the public would be, as long as they're competent and all that stuff, they'd be willing to purchase the house. So not just one buyer. Yeah, you're always gonna have one buyer that may be willing to pay a premium or higher, but they have to look at what's many buyers will be willing to pay for the property. Yeah.
Yeah, and not every
Pretty
buyer's
much
gonna
what you're
pay.
saying is just gonna take time and you would have to wait for that value to actually show up
Yeah.
over a quantity of people.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's already there. The value's already there from looking at the past data. It's already there.
Yuri, so what would it take for you to appraise a property setting a new record in the market?
What do you mean? I'm not understanding.
So my house appraised 50,000 above what the comps were
Appraised?
appraised. Now, I was the listing agent, I was the buyer's agent, I was the buyer, I was everything. I did walk the property with the appraiser, I did tell her my plans, I did tell her, you know, I got pretty made, you know, but I just did whatever, I told her. I told her the area was really good for Airbnbs, and she was in the market herself for a property just like that, and she said that she would pay that money for the house. So she gave me 50 above. It's a 2-2, they were comping at 350, it's in Sunrise. We appraised at 393, my contract was at 392 with 40 above.
What comps did she use? Did she use 2-bedroom comps or no?
There's a very house in the area, and every house is the same, it's
Well,
it
if
does
she,
have 1,900 total square feet, it's pretty big.
a
with a
2-2,
garage.
wow, okay.
Yeah, so, but yeah, that was 50 above,
But when was this? How long ago was this?
This was in April of 21.
That's why the market was,
22.
the market back then was on fire still.
April 22, so that-
The market,
you know,
yeah, it was crazy.
I've gotten 50 above.
I was seeing
60 above.
people paying 100 above. I would have praised it at 500 and they'll come up with the difference, cash, 600,000,
That
650.
already automatically-
You know, so
you
it was
help
crazy.
look at that record, like, not help, that's not the stuff I'm gonna say. If would you give a substantial, let's say 5%, 10% of from whatever they're comping at, if I guess extra features are there, and because there's people out there records, right? So I want to.
Yeah, but those records also, I'll be honest, it was the market, it was just
Yeah.
set those records now in this market. It's completely different, you know?
That's a good question. Sometimes for certain listings and preparing to go on a listing appointment, and we're doing a CMA, maybe there's lack of data and sometimes, especially in higher price listings, you know, maybe like luxury listings, $1 million and up. And I just say, man, maybe it's just best I get an appraisal to get this. What do you charge? What do you, can we call you for that?
Yeah.
What would you normally charge? We don't need like a full appraisal like you would do for the bank, but we just want to get, you know, an appraisal, some sort of. appraisal
Every
for what
case
we
is
do.
different, but yeah, I can do a drive-by, an exterior, maybe. I have to see if I can do a because these are private appraisals, but I do them.
Yeah.
I do them for divorce, I do them for realtors, I do them for
So what do you
anything.
typically charge and what's the turnaround time?
a normal appraisal. A full appraisal is between 400 to 500, normal, like a normal house.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's a bigger house, it may be more, it may be, but if it's a desktop, it's not gonna be as expensive. It just depends. Every case is different. You know, it's not always the
So
same
just call
price.
you and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause
Obviously-
that happens sometimes, especially with like certain listings. Sometimes we get these listings, like especially like areas like Coral Gables, for example. Sometimes Southwest Ranches where like the homes are so different.
Some-
It's so, you know,
Yeah.
you gotta find which one do you give the most weight to, and it's so hard because architecturally they're so different. There's new construction, there's old construction, there's not so old. And so it's like, you know, I sometimes it's like, man, maybe it's better just hire a professional so we know more or less where to list this at.
Yeah, you could do that. I've seen realtors where they'll try to tack on the cost to the buyer, to the seller.
Yeah,
But
I don't even mind paying for it. I just wanna make sure we're in the ballpark, right? you know?
Yeah,
We
some
can call you
realtors,
for that and we can
some
talk about
realtors do
with
that.
the-
I do it for some realtors.
Okay.
You know, some of them, that's part of their marketing and they offer it to their sellers. And some, whenever they have a situation, they'll do that, you know, it just depends.
It's just sometimes with list in certain neighborhoods where it gets a little complicated
Mhm.
and then there's not enough data or something like
Mhm.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know that, you know, we can always call you and talk that out. but-
I didn't bring any cards, but I sent you my digital card, so you should
Yeah, I'll
have
put it
it.
on the chat. so
Okay,
everybody has your
okay.
information.
And then another thing also, I love working with, I'm not VA approved, but I do, many people, realtors are scared of VA. VA appraisers are very aggressive. So me as a realtor, I love when I have a VA buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Lately, we've been pretty good with appraisal, man. Like I feel like there were some times there in the last market where we're having issues here and there.
Yeah,
with everybody
you're not gonna have,
bidding.
you're not gonna have them now.
But lately, we've been pretty good with appraisal.
You're not gonna have them now because the market is no longer appreciating at a rapid pace. It was going up 2% per month. It was crazy, you know?
So I have a quick last question. I guess doesn't really pertain to this market, but like what you were saying, this market we just
Mhm.
got out of. I know a lot of, like you were saying, a lot of appraisals were coming short because it was just people, you know.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of people putting money above appraisal, out of pocket,
Mhm.
20, 30, 40 grand. So how did you like, because there was a lot of that going on back then. So when you were looking at comps, at closed sales, did you ever have to like call and find out if they paid above appraisal for like a crazy sale or sorry?
That's
I don't care what the property appraised for the comps. I just look at the comps and see. But one reason why I tell you guys to learn how to read appraisals is in that market, me as a realtor, I can look at an appraisal and see if the appraiser did a good job or not. You guys won't be able to do it as good as I do, but if you start learning about it, and if I looked at an appraisal back then and the appraiser did not do time adjustments on his comps and they sold 4, 5, 6 months ago, I'm gonna do a rebuttal and I'm gonna win it. You guys will look at it, and if you don't know what you're looking at, you're gonna be like, oh shit, he didn't hit the value. That's it, that deal. But that's why I tell you guys, try to learn more about the appraisal, because in that market, they had to do time adjustments. If the comps were a couple months old, the market was going up a lot, you know?
Any resources you recommend to learn more about? You know,
I don't know if maybe YouTube might have some
the
things.
association also does training here.
Yeah, and then also looking at every single appraisal and seeing what he did. Okay, this guy adjusted 10,000 for the pool. Maybe do some research yourself and look into it, just not the whole day, but a little bit, just to understand what he did, you know?
Yeah, it's a full page. You don't have to read an appraisal report's a lot of pages. You really don't have to read all that stuff, but there's just that one part.
There,
Those,
let me
2-3 pages.
let me
that
open it
really
up
show
really,
you.
let me open it up really quick. Let me see if I can. Hold on. Actually, here is one. Let me open it up.
And you have to go back on the Zoom and share. Did you take? No, you're still in the Zoom.
Someone's, I'm just gonna open up any report. Let me see this one right here. It's almost open. So this is the first page of an appraisal. So if you look at here, it has different tabs, and that way it breaks it down into sections. This is the subject section of the property. This is the contract section. This is the neighborhood section. This is an important section to look at, because here, when the market was going up, you'd see here the appraiser marked it as increasing. If he marked the demand as a shortage, what I showed you guys earlier, and if you marked it marketing time within 90 days, that the property sold within 90 days. So here you're looking at appraisal, and if the market is going up and there's a shortage and he put it the stable and all stuff, right there, I'll submit a rebuttal. You guys, if you don't know, you look at it and you're like, oh, it's fine, you know, you wouldn't know. But if you know about it, that's one thing that you have to look at. Here, neighborhood boundaries is where the appraiser said the boundaries of the property is located. It's north of this street, south of this street, east of this street, and west of the turnpike. So those are his established boundaries that he says. This is just the site section, so nothing there. Improvements, he's gonna talk about any upgrades the property has. The condition is very important, C3. If your house is remodeled and he puts it as a C4, you may submit a rebuttal because of that, and tell him, hey, you didn't say my property's updated, it has all these features and upgrades, he should put it in here. It's like average, not remodeled, C3 is remodeled, C2 is completely decked out, and C1 is new construction, never lived in. C2 is new construction, lived in. And then this is the most important page, which is your comps. Comps 1, 2, and 3, your adjustments. Okay, for example, this one, my property's on a busy road, so I adjusted 8,000 for not being on the busy road for these two comps, because they're not. You know, the difference in GLA for this one, you see 1403, 1656, 7590. I didn't adjust for bedroom because it's already factored into the GLA adjustment. And I adjusted 1,500 for the half bathroom. This one's bigger.
Yeah, something like adjusting for a busy road, that's not even something I would consider.
If the market tells you, once I started analyzing sales, I started seeing, and the ones that are on the busy road were selling for less. So I had to adjust for the comps that were not on the busy road. Think about it. Do you want to live on a busy road and your kids walk outside and, you know? The bottom of the range right here is, this one's really tight. 376, 375.9, 373. So I can come in anywhere around there. Sometimes it's going to be a bigger range, you know, and that's the leeway that we have to come up with the value somewhere within there. It has to come in, you know, and that's pretty much it. Those are the most important parts to look at in the report. So that's it.
Good question.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
$5,000 of value per bot. That's it. No.
You know what?
Like. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
531, 532, 5,000 square foot adjustment. Comps are 4 months away there. I don't see any.
This is a private, this is a private appraisal, right? Yeah.
Correct. I'm listing that property.
Tonight, you know?
You know what? I mean, did he put any 3-1s? This one right here. This 3-1, 575 in good condition. This 3-1, 600 in good condition. 1,055, 1,118. This, oh, but this one's a listing. It's a pending sales. It hasn't even closed yet.
Yeah, depending. Yeah, that appraisal to me was a little, I mean,
It just depends, but when it's only a 1 bathroom, I like to at least include one closed field that has 1 bathroom. When it's between 2 or 3 bathrooms, yeah, maybe 5,000. Sometimes it may be 10,000 for that, because it's a big difference between only 1 bathroom as opposed to having 2 bathrooms, you know?
I think that's at least $15,000.
But I'll be honest with you, many times the appraisers, that's the typical adjustment they do for bathrooms, unless they can prove that there's a different amount. Look at all the appraisals